doing?
What's up?
I think we should make some like big political decisions.
Yeah, it's like a presidential address.
Oh. I wish I had one on hand for you.
We're just going to kind of go around the room with the questions, so we're going to start right here.
Okay, so I'm from Divergent faction, and we were wondering for Veronica, what was it like to put on the Dauntless costume and head to set and to act like a person that you created?
Well, I have never, not for a second, had any ambitions to be an actress. So for me, it was terrifying, actually. Because Neil Berger, our wonderful director, was like, okay, now you need to burst through this door and be breathless but excited. And I was like, you won't need to be two things at the same time. Anyway, it took a few takes, a few too many. But it was really exciting and fun to see, you know, I mean, how often do you get to experience that? Like, never. Well, for these guys, I mean, several times at least, but for me, never. So it was wonderful, and the tattoo was really sweet. It was like on my throat, which was, I don't know, it was a really special experience. So, that's all.
She killed it.
Not true at all.
Totally true, absolutely.
This is for Veronica as well. In terms of the screenplay, what role did you have in the screenplay, and were there any scenes that you said these really should be in the movie? They're integral scenes.
Not really. I similarly don't have any ambitions to be a screenwriter either. So I kind of left it to the people who know what they're doing. But I guess I was open to being like a consultant. So they'd ask me about the world, and I would tell them, you know, whatever they needed to know. But other than that, I mean, I think it's important to just trust the people who you decide to work with, and to kind of let go a little bit, because otherwise you'll go crazy. So I think they did a wonderful job, which is very good. But yeah.
My question is for anyone, what's the most divergent thing any of you have ever done? Very broad.
You mean like diverging from the mainstream?
Yeah.
I killed someone.
Is that a confession?
And so I feel like you rock climb. That's pretty divergent. Or I guess that's
it's like kind of dauntless. Yeah, I mean, I rock climb a lot. Theo boxes. So I guess maybe sometimes we're a little dauntless. But I think actually I just came up with something kind of clever. I think the most divergent thing that we do, especially us three, is the actors, because you know, if you're going along Divergent, which is meaning, you know, every faction, as actors we have to be different people all the time, play different roles that are, you know, sometimes maybe more dauntless, sometimes maybe more erudite. So, you know, I guess I never really think of it that way when I'm making it. When I'm doing a different movie, I'm not thinking, which faction would this come? But you know, we're pretty divergent as actors.
Well said.
That was damn well said. So glad I just came up with that.
My question's for Shailene. You've done a couple of young adult book-to-film adaptations at this point, so you know how devoted the fan bases can be. What is it about Triss as a character, do you think, that makes her such a powerful role model for the young fans?
I mean, in my opinion, I think Triss, is this incredibly loud for you guys? Because in my ear, it's like, does it sound normal? Okay. What I should speak for myself, and so what I found really beautiful and unique about Triss that sort of set her apart from other young adult heroines, quote unquote, is that the struggle between being selfless and compassionate and empathetic and being brave and courageous and going out into the world with a mission and accomplishing a goal was really beautiful. And I think that it's something to look up to, because there are so many things right now in the world that do need to sort of have some light shed on them. And to have somebody in an action film, you know, which does have artistic license and is in a movie about entertainment, at the end of the day, there's a lot of powerful messages that come from being an empowered woman. And that was one thing that when I read the book I really responded to, is there are a lot of empowered females in films, but I feel like Tris isn't badass by nature. You know, she wasn't born knowing how to do really, knowing how to survive in intense situations. She had to build her strength, and she had to dig deep for her bravery and her courage, and I think that that's something that we could all sort of live up to or look up to. That probably made no sense.
I think we should clap after each question.
How much training was involved for your fight scenes, and did you do any of your own stunts?
I did all my stunts and Theo's stunts.
Yeah. Yes, there was quite a lot. We all got there before, about a month before shooting, and we kind of got stuck in and learned this new style of fighting which they came up with, because the idea was to have something reminiscent of what we know today, but have it to be a bit different, because obviously it's in the future. We had at one point I kind of played General 4 in a way, because we had a couple of days where everyone came in, and I kind of took them on a dauntless class, which was kind of funny.
He made me do 20 push-ups in front of 50 strangers because I laughed at him.
Jay was like, "Are you serious? Is that funny?" But yeah, that was a big part of it, kind of, because I guess that's how dauntless are defined. They're kind of, in a way, their physicality and their strength. Now you clap.
Let's start that.
Go ahead. Did you guys, this is kind of a question for all of you, did you all have any particular issues with translating certain scenes from the book to the movie? Like, was there any particularly difficult scenes that didn't translate well, or ones that you wanted to get across?
No. I mean, yes. Yes, definitely. I feel like there is, the book has so many different things happening. Tris, it starts off with Tris switching factions, and then there's the storyline between Four, and then there's the storyline between her and Janine, and then there's her becoming dauntless, and is she going to survive or not survive, and then, sort of breaks out in war. So there's so many things that are happening that to translate that to the screen was, I think, a bit difficult for the screenwriters. And the script was sort of evolving as we were filming. So we had a baseline script, and we had most of the scenes, but there were often times where Theo and I, with the director the night before, the morning of, would be like, this, how do we bring more truth to the situation? How do we bring it back to the book, relate it back to the original storyline, but also lend the movie its own creative process, because they are two separate things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was something we were constantly working on.
And I think we realized that, there are some things you have to lose in the context of making a movie, and then sometimes in scenes there would be particular lines from the book which was a poignant line, and as much as we could, we tried to keep them in, but sometimes, for whatever reason, inevitably, because it's a different medium, we found that it needed to be communicated in a different way, so that was one of the lessons we learned as well.
Or sometimes we'd look at a scene and be like, this scene isn't working, and then we'd go back to the book
That's true, yeah.
and sort of translate that scene verbatim.
Actually, we did that quite a lot, didn't
Yeah.
we? We'd look at it, if we were looking at a scene and thinking there's a section of it which feels like it's not real or it doesn't work, then we would go back to the book and we'd look at the very scene.
I was kind of glad when they kicked some of the dialogue, actually. Because when I heard the audiobook for the first time, I remember hearing some of the lines out loud, and I was like, maybe not what someone would say. So for me, it was like, oh, good. We can just enjoy the sense of what was being said instead of the word for word translation of what was being said. I mean, that's way more important to me and has been throughout this whole process. It's not seeing the book scene for scene, word for word, character for character replicated on the screen, but to have the general thrust of the narrative and the characters remain very close to how they were. And I think that was pretty much achieved, which is a good thing. But one thing I thought was probably a challenge, I didn't do it, so I don't know, was the choosing ceremony must have been hard, because that scene is entirely in Triss's mind, and it's a huge struggle. But when I saw it, good job, Shay.
Thanks, dude. Fun tip about, or thing about that scene is the first dude who goes up and comes to say, "This Neil Berger, our director's son." How sweet is that?
And his daughter's in your fearsome.
And the daughter's the little girl who the dog tries to attack at the beginning of the movie.
Neil plugging his family in the movie.
That guy, I tell you.
You're not going to be in the second movie.